Hello, my friends, and welcome to the first Modal Jams, let's say, instructional video. First of all, I'd like to tell you why I decided to do that, to put my face here and start talking about it. First of all, because I love the subject, I love the modes, I love chords, I love harmony, I love different sounds. I'm curious about them, and I want to discover, and I want to absorb them, and I want to be able to use them in my music, in my playing, and to recognize in the sounds of other artists also. But also because I see many misconceptions about modes. It's merely referred to as a way to practice the instrument and to find fingers and positions of the same scale, or it's usually driven towards that. And usually the real subject of the modes, which is sonorities, different chords that represent different sounds that materialize, that put in the air different sounds, and finding out the scales that, or the interval structures that have the notes that fit over those sounds, that actually that come from those sounds, that are those sounds in the end. So first of all, that you have to understand about the modes is that the only reason a mode, we refer to a mode, to a scale, to this structure of this horizontal representation of something. The only reason that it exists, it's because there is a sound that it's that that the mode represents, or brings to in a horizontal fashion that we can apprehend, learn, manipulate, put to our ears, and play over these chords, or create arrangements, or create melodies, and do whatever we want over those sounds. So the first thing that you have to learn about the modes, that each mode is a sound. So if we have the major scale, we have 7 modes, you have 7 different sounds that you can learn, that you can use, that you can each for me, this is like a different playground, Disneyland for me, each of those sounds, or at least the major scale is a big park, and and each mode is a different place that you go into that park. So we have to learn these chords and these sounds, and then it would make a lot more sense. Everything, all this theory, these names, Lydian, Mixolydian, Superloop, and everything, that are really secondary. I only use them as a means of, for example, Lydian for me, it's a major 7th chord with a sharp 11 on it. And that's that sound. Okay, you can call it Lydian, you can call it major 7 with sharp 11, you can call it waterfall, you can call it anything that you want, as long as you recognize that name with that sound in your ear. So we have to find out the chords that represent each of these sounds. And that's usually what I do here in the channel. When I put the chord pads, I get the chord that really represents the sound of that mode, and I put there static for people to experiment playing those notes and feeling and hearing, and then getting the sound of the chord, So we have to discover those ones so we can play, we can absorb them, and then it will make sense, because in the structure of the chord, there will be all the characteristic notes of that mode, of that scale that you are trying to memorize, the structure and everything. So that's what for example, if we take a major chord, major triad, it doesn't represent any mode. It's a major chord. So any or almost any major mode could work of that one. And that's another usage of modes, that it's not what I do usually. I usually play music that has complex and bigger, let's say, chords. But if I play in a more simple situation, tonal music, I fit it to that, and maybe I can over some chord use some scale, but that's not really the thing, because here it could be Ionian, it could be Lydian, right? But that's not the case. So for a chord to represent a mode, it has to have more notes, And so, for example, I'll take here just quickly the Dorian, which is a minor mode, Let's take it in C also. So this mode, Dorian mode, comes from from the B flat major scale it would be in regular theory, but for me it comes from E flat Lydian, you know. So usually the concept of a parent scale is very important in a modal study, because usually the sound of a mode of that scale is the sound of that scale with a different bass note. That's just it, you know. Most of these things I learned through my studies and my playing with Tiberius Warg and his teachings that he got from Hermeto Pascoal. But this is all in a very non-theoretical way, you know. And that's how I developed. When I started teaching harmony and people came to me interested about learning about different things, I started to try to create a system to teach them. And later on, I discovered that this kind of small system that I created to look at things, it was very similar to George Russell's Lydian chromatic way of thinking, but in a very simple way, you know. Just for me, to find the sound and the chords that represent a mode, it's usually the sound of that parent scale with a bass in another place. For the modes of the major scale, for me, Lydian was always like the center where all these other modes come from in the end with different bass notes, you know. And then, but it doesn't care for me if Lydian or Ionian or major scale is the center of the universe. It's just a matter of working with the chords and the way I relate to them, you know. So the Dorian, if I told you that it relates to E flat Lydian, then E flat Lydian, I could just put E flat Lydian here, E flat major with its sharp 11, and I put here the C, you know. And then I can rearrange those notes any way I want. If I think about it as a Lydian sound, you know, I can, and just keeping the bass note of the mode that I want, but representing what you are hearing is C Dorian, but I'm playing characteristic notes of E flat Lydian, which is the parent scale here. Right? So it's usually that the sound of the parent scale arranged somehow in a nice. I'll give you lots of examples in the next videos with the bass note in that degree, with that mode, you know. It might seem complicated right now, but as I start going through it, like step by step, you see it's very simple. Once you learn the parent scale, like the major, the Lydian, and then we go to the melodic minor, and then if you want, you can go to the harmonic major. The melodic minor, it's also it creates very beautiful sounds, but just the major scale and the melodic minor, it's already 14 different sounds that you can discover and you can combine. And that's how music works for me. You know, there's a sound here, then comes this sound, then comes. Of course, in tonal music, there's a different dynamic, and we are used to that. I'm not here to question that or to talk anything about it. If you want to study that, it's good. If you want to only study that kind of way of looking at music, no problem, you know. But for me, the modes, this kind of way of feeling the music as one sound, another sound, and then another sound, and how to create music with that, you know. Even reharmonizing a melody that it's in a key, but you use all those chords and you are using sounds over those notes, you know, in the end. Okay, so see you in the next video. Hope you liked it, and check the backing tracks for the sound of all these modes. See you soon.